We're sitting here, Coleman and I, today, with the idea of just talking a bit. I love Coleman, and I'm interested at this point in my life of salvaging some of the great souls and ideas and things that I'd like to transmit for the future. And I think also, Coleman, we like to talk about our transmissions, what we're trying to say, what we'd like our grandchildren to know about, what our particular gift is. And Ramakrishna has said each comes with a little slice of a gift. Like in my publishing, I can design covers, and I can pressure scholars to get blurbs in, and I can put people together, but I can't translate, I can't write. And so we come in little groups, each with a little gift. But our gift is useless without each other. It's a great basis for humility. What are some of the things in your life you've tried to transmit or are transmitting?
The Sufis say that there's something happens in the glance.
In the glance.
Yeah. That there's something that's transmitted in the glance. Through the eyes.
Through the eyes.
Yeah. And somehow we have the presence in us of all we have loved and all that have loved us. So we bring our lineages through the eyes, and then they combine. You know, that's complicated. All the people you have loved, and that includes, Whitman and Dostoevsky and Emily
of course
Dickinson.
It does.
Those, or probably even Hamlet and Faust.
They're all with us. We're all together in the eternal now. They're present.
Yeah, I mean, even imaginary characters. Yeah. And then, of course, the teachers that have given darshan to us, we are somehow carrying in the eyes that presence.
Wow.
And we go through a long time, I did, of giving away sexual energy through the eyes. But we don't do that anymore. But Rumi says, I used to do that, but now whatever Shams gave me, that you can have from me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Maybe with the less vital, its sense comes in the words. I don't know. I asked Bawa Muhyiddin, who had these magnificent eyes, and I said, if you had a blindfold across your eyes, I might not come up here.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he said, I wonder if sometime what I see looking out from your eyes can come up behind my eyes and look out.
That's good.
I didn't know what I was asking, and he just sort of played with the covers, always sitting on his bed, and he says, if you want something bad enough, it can happen. Yeah.
But I mean, when he came to Philadelphia, I mean, when you saw him, was that like Rumi seeing Shams was divine presence there? I mean, what was it you saw with Bawa?
Well, I saw him in a dream before I'd ever met him, and
how was it?
I was sleeping out in the dream. I was sleeping out in a sleeping bag on the bluff above the Tennessee River where I grew up. And a ball of light rose off of Williams Island, right there across the river, and clarified from the inside out. And there was a man sitting in there, had a white thing over his head.
Oh, yeah.
And he raised his head like this. And he said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. I'm so glad I said that. I didn't have any choice. And it seemed to be the result of the exchange was that everything in that curve of that river felt soaked with dew. And of course, that's just the natural process. It would have been soaked with, it's night, the dew is formed, but the dew was love. And somehow the process of the formation of the dew, how you know things in dreams, I felt that in my body, how the process of forming dew was love.
Oh, wow.
And just that wetness of that this conference is about, that water that somehow is the mystery of love. Yeah. And that's what he was all about. I began doing these Rumi translations, and sent them to a friend of mine, Milner Ball, who taught law at Rutgers Camden, and he inexplicably read them, these Rumi Trump poems, to his torts class.
Yeah, to his torts class.
Yes,
That's funny.
and then his friend began writing to me and saying, "There's a teacher up here, and that I'd like for you to meet. You should meet him." And so I'm on the way up to give poetry readings in the Northeast. I stopped off in Philadelphia and walked in the room, and it was the man in my dream. But I did ask him about the Rumi. I was doing these rephrasing of Rumi poems, and he said, "This has to be done." He just said this. And so it seems like to me, whenever I work on those poems, I'm restored to the presence
Of Bawa.
Yeah. Rumi himself said, "Listen for presences inside poems. Let them take you where they will. Follow those private hints and never leave the premises." And I think the friendship, somehow, the friendship of Rumi and Shams and the wild presence of Shams Tabriz comes through Rumi's poems. That's why he called them the works of Shams of Tabriz. His collected work. He said, "I didn't do these. These are Shams." I had a dream once. I was in Rumi's tomb, in the tomb, and he was coming in the door, and everybody was so glad to see him that he disappeared into the people that were glad to see him. I couldn't see his face.
That makes me cry.
And isn't that sweet?
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's really beautiful.
He just disappeared, and I kept trying to see his face, and I couldn't see it.
Oh.
Yeah, he was in those who loved him. I have a sense of his playfulness and his kindness. But I get that from his letters. You know, we have 147 letters that his son saved.
Have they been published?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in the back of a book called This Longing that I published. And every letter starts with the three words, "God opens doors." That's it. But they're all just right, you know, could you please delay the repayment of this loan for 2 weeks? You know, the student he needs a little more time. And you know, this woman's relatives have moved in with her. Could you help them? It just right in the nitty gritty of the life around him.
Wow.
He was so ecstatic and then so practical, just solving problems like you know, just everything,
Yeah.
If the things need tended to, you tend to them, yeah.
We're all in the divine present together. Anyway, there isn't any place to go to or from in God. So I think you must be working with Rumi.
I'm open to anything like that being true. I just have a hard time saying those things, just claiming that, you know, because if it's not some specific, like that dream of Bawa is my experience.
Yes.
You know, I don't have a choice about that.
That's right.
You know, you can believe it or not. I don't have that luxury because it happened to me. You know, I mean, that just happened to me, and weird. You know, and he would come to me in other dreams. One time he came, and he was teaching me how to take tiny little sips.
Right.
Just it was water. It was a tiny sip, and I went back to ask him what that meant. You know, and he said, "You don't need to describe the dream to me. I was there." You know, there are people on different levels. Then I can't do that, you know. But he said, what that means was you want to be wise too quickly. Mm-hmm. You know, just take a small sip and metabolize that, make that part of your life, you know. And he was also teaching me how to bow. He says, your back is stiff. You need to bow all the way down. And I didn't ask. I know what that means.
You know what that means, all the way.
All the way, yeah.
How many years did you actually get to know him or visit him before?
9 years.
9 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, he died in 86, December of 86. I happened to be there up in the in Michael Green's house and just down the street. And
When he died?
when he died. And,
What was his death like?
unbelievable.
What?
Well, Michael just came in and touched me and said, "You've got to come."
Gotcha.
So we went to the room there. I was in another place, I just curled up on the floor, and then somebody came and got me, and we all walked around, and so he was there, dead. And I always like to touch people who are dead.
Sure.
To make something go in, I kissed my mother on the forehead when she was dead,
I did the same with mine.
And something goes through your brain, and you know that one, she's gone.
You know that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's a Southern tradition. It's kind of grotesque, isn't it? But
You told me a long time ago that you dug the hole to bury him.
I was about 2 feet from the top of the grave, and I'd just lost track of it. Somebody in this voice says, "Do you want to go with him? Just lay down."
Oh. And you
I
said,
asked him once
Yeah.
what it was like to be him, and how is it different from being me? And he told me this.
That's a great question.
Great story. It involves water too. He says, well, there's a little frog that lives in a ditch, and he likes this ditch. He's just very, very proud of it. And a frog that lives in the ocean comes and visits him and says, "How do you like, the frog? How do you like this ditch I'm living in?" And he jumps around and he says, "What's it like where you live?" And the ocean frog just says, "I can't explain to you. I'll have to take you there someday." So that's the way he explained it.
That's the way he explained it.
He said the ditch is the world of the mind and desire, and those are the dimensions of it, and the ocean is the world of divine being.
I think what attracts us to people like that, the reason I love that, or you love Bawa or Sri Ramana, is that's who I want. That's what I want to be. I want to be that. That's the true divine nature in front of you. I mean, so that it's not like you're reading it in books. You're reading about, some Saint Francis of Assisi.
Right.
But you're actually, it's not something you're reading. You're in the presence, and you recognize that it gives you some place to go that you recognize. If you had to say what you are transmitting,
I would think more of some kind of a playfulness that comes through me, and something about laughter comes through.